Hi guys, it is Heather from Tech at Lowell again with the next episode of How to Feed Yourself. Yay! Okay, so like I promised, we are going to start with a really fun and really easy recipe, bread. So you can get really complicated with bread. I'm going to show you just a really basic, versatile recipe. Then it's a really good starting point, and then I'll show you a few things we can do with it. And if you decide you want to learn how to make fancier breads, more power to you. If not, this is a really great recipe to just have on hand. So you're gonna have to bear with me as I try to make sure I get everything right. We are gonna get started. So the nice thing about bread is it really doesn't need a whole lot of ingredients. So I'm gonna angle you down so you can see my workstation a little bit better. And try and figure out the angles here, y'all. We're gonna do it like that. That works. Okay, so the nice thing about bread is it really only requires a few simple ingredients: water, yeast, sugar, salt, olive oil, and flour. So, but before we get started, we are going to wash our hands because we want to keep a nice, clean kitchen. And I'm actually going to leave that running for a minute because to start, we want warm water. So you don't want it too hot and you don't want it too cold. So about lukewarm so that it will activate our yeast. So as a matter of fact, I realized I forgot something to mix it with, so while that's heating, I'm really basic and I like to just use like a fork to mix it with. So this is what we're going to mix our yeast mixture in, and then this is going to get used later, and then you can see we're going to use a mixer to actually mix the dough. You can also mix by hand, but having a mixer does help, or if you have a food processor, I frequently do this recipe in a food processor. So I'm going to test our water. Not quite there yet. About right. I'm going to take this. And we're going to get 1 cup of warm water. We're going to take one of these packets, which is about 2 1/4 teaspoons of yeast. In case if you can occasionally find bigger things of yeast, which is usually a more economical buy, but this is all that the store had. Still good, so we're just going to pour that right in there. And then we need our salt and our sugar. So it's going to be 1/2 teaspoon of sugar and a whole teaspoon of salt. Get that out. Almost did the wrong one. Now the sugar is actually going to help sort of feed the yeast. It needs sugar to kind of grow. So we're going to mix that up fairly well, and then we're just going to actually set it to the side because it needs to sit for a minute so that the yeast can activate and it's going to look like foamy, I think is the best way to describe it. Trust me, when you see it, it'll make a lot more sense. And while we're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and take just regular all-purpose flour. I store mine in a airtight container because I hate having to deal with the bag. We're going to measure out 4 cups of flour. So I know a lot of times they say that baking you've got to be exactly precise, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you this recipe was originally my mother's. Don't measure exactly, just as best you can. Scoop the flour, sort of shake off excess, and it'll be close enough. I say that because every time I measure this recipe exactly, it doesn't want to work with me, but every time I just sort of get close enough, turns out perfect. Have yet to figure out why, but that's my mother's recipes for you. So there, we have 4 cups of flour in our mixing bowl. I'll move the flour out of the way now. because we're still waiting on our yeast, I'm just gonna turn this on a little so that it will spread the flour around a bit more evenly, because it ends up in a bit of a pile. And my mixer, here, let me adjust. My mixer does have a dough hook, so that's what I'm using. You can also just use regular beaters, they work just fine. Most mixers, even hand mixers, come with dough hooks though as a default. So either way, this is just easier to get the dough off, especially if it's really sticky. All right. Fortunately, winter means that it takes a little bit longer for the yeast to activate. You can see it's starting to get pretty cloudy, and then on top it's getting a little bit foamy, but we still want to wait just a little bit longer. So my cheat method for getting dough to rise, which is actually my mother's cheat method, a lot of these are my mom's tips and tricks, I'm not gonna lie, is to warm an oven up to 250, let it get to temp, and then turn it off but leave it closed. And then once our dough is mixed and good, we're actually gonna put it in there to proof, which means to rise. It's a really quick and easy method. It doesn't take a lot of work, and especially in winter when it's so cold. I mean, if I had the whole day to just let the dough rise, that's fine, but I really don't feel like it today, so we're gonna do the cheat method. So either way is good. I'm gonna go ahead and turn the oven on. All right, it is warming. I'm gonna call our yeast mixture good enough. So we are actually, again, I usually do this in the food processor, so I'm having to remember how to do it in here. We're gonna turn the mixer on the slowest setting because I don't want flour everywhere. And then I'm just going to gradually pour this in. So that is mixing, and now it is actually time to add our olive oil. So it is about 4 tablespoons. I'm actually going to turn this up a little. Some of it you kind of eyeball and see as the dough is coming together how it looks. So I'm going to start with the first tablespoon. Pour right in there. I will say it almost always takes at least 3, and then sometimes the 4th isn't super necessary. Sometimes I just put it in because I'm not paying attention and it's not gonna kill it. 3, it definitely needs 4 because it's a really dry day today. Got the heater running, so 4. I definitely wouldn't do more than 4 because you don't want it too oily or the dough is not going to turn out good. Plus, if you come over here and look, you can see it is starting to form a ball around the dough hook. So I'm going to pause for a sec and turn it up a little so that it can come together better. Alright, so our dough is pretty good. It's springy but not too dry or too sticky. So when I take my hand off, you can see there's a little bit of dough on there, but not a lot. If my hand was covered with dough, it would need more flour. If there was none at all, and if it was still super floury, it would need more liquid, and I could add a little more water. But I like the looks of this. So we're gonna go ahead and go. Whoop. There's a little excess flour, that's fine. We're gonna take this and we're gonna knead it just a little. Which is basically, we are just gonna fold the bread over and over again. I'm gonna make a mess of my thing so that y'all can see this better. It would tilt for me, there we go. So, ideally I would have covered this with area with flour, but it'll be all right. Just means I'm gonna have to clean up dough. So I'm just gonna play with it just a little bit so that it's nice and elastic, and it starts to feel almost soft. I do need a little flour. I'm going to dig a little flour out of here. too dry. I mean wet. Wrong direction. But that is a very, very nice dough ball. Oh, and our oven is up to temp, so I'm going to turn it off real quick. I'm going to wash off my hands too, now that they're covered in dough, and grab a bowl to put this in. Alright, so in our bowl, I'm going to put just a little bit of olive oil, just a little bit of a dot, not too much. Again, we don't want to drown our dough. And then I'm going to actually roll this in there so that it doesn't stick to my container while it rises. Theoretically anyways, it usually sticks a little because that's just my luck. And then I'm going to cover it with a clean towel, just a kitchen towel I have, and we're going to put it in our warm oven to rise. Now this is a bit of a cheat method to get it to rise, but it's still going to take a little bit, so we are going to take a break and I will be back with you soon to play with the dough again. Alright guys, and we are back with bread. So, I'm going to uncover it and bring it over. As you can see, our bread has risen quite a bit. It's looking really good. It's feeling good. Do this. I'm actually going to move our pan out of the way for a moment. Yeah. We're going to do this. So, we are going to make pizza out of our bread. We could, if we wanted, just sort of smush it down, shape a loaf, let that loaf rise, and then bake the loaf. But I don't really need bread. I kind of want pizza, so we're gonna make pizza out of this. We're in a nice big pan. So I'm gonna take this pan, I'm gonna grease it a little, because I am forever in fear of something sticking. And this is just olive oil in a spray bottle that I'm using. And then, actually, yeah, we are going to move that to the side. We're going to dump this out. Alright. And see, like I told you, not a lot stuck, so we're doing good with our bread. Do that. Alright, put that to the side. And so, we are just going to play with it a little. Just knead it a bit, make sure everything's homogeneous. There it is. And while I'm thinking about it, I'm going to start the oven and I'm going to put it at 400. We're going to see how that works. It's been a while since I've made pizza using dough and not a pre-made crust. With pre-made crust, I usually do it 450 for about 10 minutes with my toppings. Usually it's like a naan bread. Since this is dough, I don't want it to cook too fast and the dough not be cooked when the pizza toppings are done. So we're gonna do it at 400 and we'll start with maybe 8 minutes and see how we go from there. So, gonna do this. And I think I'm gonna make 3 different pizzas today. So I want the smaller ones. I'm going to take this and I'm just going to cut off about 1/3. Little knife. This is just a paring knife. I'll go ahead and cut the rest. Move it out of the way so I can bring my pan back over. Because I am honestly just going to roll it out on this pan, because that's easier, because dough gets really floppy. So do that. Just gonna go ahead and spread it out a little bit with my hands, about where I want them to be. And then I realized I forgot to grab my rolling pins. I'm gonna be right back. So this is my rolling pin. It's got 2 little ends. Big one's good for like big stuff, and then just moving a little bit. So we're just gonna roll this out into square-ish shapes. We're gonna see how this goes. Yeah, there we go. Vaguely rectangular shapes. So you're gonna see as I push it out, it's gonna spring back a little, but it is gonna set into a shape. So we've got, it's a nicely elastic dough that it's springing back a little, but not so much that it's just coming back into that small shape. So we kneaded it enough, but not overly. So that is about, I think, a good shape. It's a good thickness. So it's about that thick. It's not very thick. I mean, think about little pizza dough you get, as long as it's not like deep dish. Like the edges are usually big, but the inside is usually pretty thin. We want it like when you order pizza, the inside bit where it's the thinner. Because the edges where we don't put toppings will puff up more than the rest of it. I'm gonna do the other 2 pieces of dough. All my dough rolled out. You can see I've got like this nice long one. I've got this one, and I got this one. They're all different shapes and sizes, so this should be a little interesting. You usually want them a little closer to the same shape and size so they cook at the same time, but we should be okay. So I'm gonna do 3 different pizzas. So we're gonna do one with a, actually no, this one's gonna be the breakfast one. So this one I'm gonna do ricotta, Parmesan, some crushed red pepper, garlic, and we're actually gonna put an egg on it. This one is going to be a Hawaiian pizza with bell pepper, and then we're gonna do a veggie one. So the base for the breakfast one is going to be ricotta. I'm gonna go grab that. The sort of sauce for this one, it's gonna be ricotta, so I'm just gonna take a thing of ricotta. I do, oh my gosh, really? I do whole fat dairy just because usually non-fat tastes like a lie. Oh my gosh. Just gonna do that. I don't know why it's gotta get sealed like it's the Magna Carta. Just want the ricotta to be open. All right, gonna take our ricotta, dollop about 1/4 cup out. We're just gonna spread it out. I'm probably gonna need a little more actually because this is a bit bigger than the last time I did this. We're just gonna spread it out pretty thinly, leaving a little bit of an edge, but not too much, because the toppings are where the flavor is at, so we want that covering as much real estate as possible. A little more. All right, so it's got a decent covering of the ricotta. Now we're gonna season it because ricotta by itself doesn't have a whole lot of flavor. So I'm feeling a little spice today, so I'm gonna do just a dab of crushed red pepper. Very, very tiny amount. You can always skip this. Then I'm gonna do, there's our oven. I'm going to do a generous shaking of garlic all over it because I love garlic. Then we're going to do just a little salt. It's not going to need a whole lot because of some of the other stuff we're putting on it, but it does need a little. I think we're going to skip pepper. I think that'll be good. So then we are going to put a little bit of Parmesan, whatever kind of Parmesan works. Usually when I buy Parmesan, I stick it in the freezer and I just work off the frozen Parmesan. I'm going to do just like a little pinch of Parmesan. And then I actually have got some sliced veggies here. So I have some green pepper and some mushrooms. I think I want mushroom on my breakfast pizza. Just gonna do a little border almost, because I'm gonna leave room for my egg, which is actually gonna get added after this cooks for a little bit. So we're gonna leave it like this for now, and then partway through we'll pull it out, crack an egg over top, and then cook it till the egg is set. I'm gonna set this back over to the side, but close while we work on our next one. So this one we are going to do a Hawaiian with veggie because that's one of my favorite. I love the combination of pepperoni and pineapple. If you don't like it, whatever, do your thing, but I like it, so this is what we're gonna do. So I have some tomato sauce that's been simmering. Because as I will explain in the next episode, tomato sauce is always better when it simmers. So I'm just gonna take it, my hot tomato sauce, and spread it right out. You can do as much or as little as you want. I love tomato sauce. So I'm just gonna do a bunch. And this is just a can of crushed tomatoes that I simmered with some extra Italian seasoning and garlic to bump up the flavor a little bit. You can buy pizza sauce, but usually it's like sweet. They add sugar and I don't understand why. I don't see why it needs that. So I just make my own. Do that. And we're gonna grab some cheese. So for this one, I'm going to use some shredded sharp cheddar. We go through enough, we just stick each bag in a container. And then some shredded Italian. Just a mixture of cheeses. This is one of my favorite sort of combinations. Just going to sprinkle some on. Again, a lot of this is to taste. I have one brother who covers his in cheese so much it just starts oozing off the crust. It's a little weird, like I get it, but also it's kind of gross. Right. I personally love sharp cheddar, so I want a fair covering of it. And then do this one. So we've got our cheese on. We can do some fun toppings now. So I'm going to take half of the bell pepper I have over here sliced, and I'm going to put it on there because I love bell pepper. Cooked, raw, however I can get it. And we come And then I've just got some canned pineapple chunks that I've drained. I'm gonna put some on there. I like a fairly good toppings to crust ratio and sort of spread it out. And then, last but not least, just some regular pepperoni. Because, I mean, I do shop at Aldi. This was the last thing, and I was very happy they actually had some. Why will packages not cooperate today? I just want to open the package. It was tear to open, and it lied to me. Where are the scissors? Alright, I fixed it. I'm just going to put a little. I like to put the pepperoni on top because I like it when it gets really crispy and crunchy. Feel free to do whatever you want. Again, fun thing about pizza is you can do whatever you want with it. It's just a basic thing that you can make however you want. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. So that one is good. And then for our third nice and long one, we are going to do a veggie. So we are actually, instead of like a tomato sauce or the ricotta, we're gonna do this one with some olive oil and garlic as the base. I'm gonna take my olive oil And drizzle a good amount on. I'm just gonna use my fingers to spread it a little because I want it coating everything, because again, whatever doesn't get sauce is not gonna have a whole lot of flavor, and this one I run the risk of it drying out too. All right, now I gotta get all the olive oil off my hand. So garlic. So I'm just gonna use the granulated garlic. If I had thought ahead, I would have bought some like minced garlic or something, because that would be really good, but I didn't feel like doing that. So we're just gonna use what we've got on hand. Honestly, the most expensive part about building a kitchen is the spices and the condiments. So it's always easy, build up a base of really flexible seasonings like the garlic, Italian seasoning, stuff like that, and then use those and then build from there. So don't buy like 50 billion different little things. All right, so for our veggie, I'm thinking got some spinach. I'm gonna do a little bit of spinach. This would be better if I had bought baby spinach, but I just bought spinach because it was cheaper. Not gonna lie. Alright, so I got some spinach. I could have chopped it, but that's a lot of work. And then I'm going to take the rest of my bell pepper and mushroom and spread it out. Oh no, I have escaping spinach. I'm kind of using the bell pepper and the mushroom to like weigh the spinach down so that it doesn't try to fly off. And you could do any veggies you like on it. This is just what I already kind of had on hand and needed to use up. The mushrooms were starting to get kind of old, so I really needed to use them. So that's why they're in here. They were in a recipe that I did last week for myself. Yeah, it's really, I could have diced up some tomato, whatever vegetable really you think would go on a pizza. Maybe not carrot. I don't think I'd do carrot. But I'm gonna do like a little Parmesan. I'm just apparently in the mood for Parmesan right now. It's just, it has a really nice flavor. You don't need a lot. I'm gonna do a little Parmesan. And I think I'm gonna do a little Italian too. Just for a little extra, because it's kind of a, I don't want it to be too blah. All right, so those look pretty decent. So I'm gonna go and stick them in the oven and set the timer for 8 minutes, and then we will take a look and see how they're doing. All right, I'll meet you back in a bit. All right, so this is at about 8 minutes at 400 in my oven. All ovens run a bit differently, but they're looking pretty good. You can see toppings are melting. Our crust is starting to cook. So it's time to add our egg for the breakfast pizza. So no, do not crack on an edge. Crack on a flat surface. If you crack on an edge, it pushes the shell into it and you're more likely to end up with bits in there. So there is our egg. Let's throw this out. Get my handful of thing. We're gonna pop this right back in. We're gonna start with 5 minutes because I want to kind of eyeball it. Alright, so essentially I'm just going to cook it until my egg looks set. My other pizzas look like they're cooked through as well. And then I'll meet you back here to look at the finished product. Alright, so our pizza is done now. So you can see like veggies are looking cooked, cheese is melted, and then my uber professional way of making sure the egg is cooked is I shake it and it doesn't jiggle. So, got 3 different pizzas. I'm probably gonna eat this one today because reheated egg is not really great. But those are 3 different ideas of things. I mean, the possibilities are endless with pizza and with just the basic dough recipe. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Keep an eye out for the next episode, which is gonna be spaghetti. And I will try to, in the description box below, put sort of a cost analysis. I'll tell you like what I paid for my groceries, sort of average cost maybe. I'll see if I can do the fractions that small, because a lot of this, like, you buy a bunch and you use little bits at a time. So that's one thing to always keep in mind when you're looking at prices for things, is think about, well, how many different recipes is this going to go into, how many different meals, that sort of thing. But I've got 3 easy meals here with like a side salad or whatever, and I'm good to go. So yeah, that is it for this time, and I will see y'all soon. Bye guys!